Hi everyone, welcome to today's vlog where I'm going to be talking about therapy and counselling a little bit. I'm going to share my own story and two other guys' stories that they sent me, which is awesome. Big thank you to them. I'm going to keep them anonymous, so we're going to call them Daniel and James. So I've got 5 questions to go through, and my kind of goal with this vlog is hopefully if anyone's thinking about therapy or is curious about therapy or has someone that they think should go to therapy, hopefully these questions will give you a little bit of an insight and answer some questions that you have and maybe make you want to try therapy or decide that it's not for you. So my first question is, were you hesitant to try therapy? Did you go willingly, and if so, why did you decide to try therapy? Daniel said that he wasn't hesitant to try therapy at all because he knew that his mental health had gotten to a stage where he needed help. He wanted to get better and therapy was suggested by his doctor, so he went willingly. And then James, very opposite. It started when he was 14 and was very unwilling. It was something that his parents kind of put him into. But looking back on it now, he says that he's really glad that his parents pushed him into it because he'd rather be pushed into it and kind of have had that experience and come to love it than not have had therapy at all, which is quite interesting. But he does also point out that he thinks it's a really unhealthy thing if a parent does it under the guise of like there's something wrong with you or there's something different about you to make a child go to therapy. It should be more of like an open conversation and a healthy conversation as opposed to making the child feel like there's something wrong. So if I think back to why I started therapy, I'd been against it for my entire life. I was like, I hate talking to my friends and family, let alone like some stranger. So I've always been against it. I was like, I hate opening up. No, absolutely not. And then I was in a relationship and I could feel kind of the things that had always kind of got in the way of my relationships happening again, and I was really keen on this relationship to work, and I decided it was time for a change. And also my mental health was at an all-time low, so I don't know how it came about, but I was kind of like, do you know what, I'm ready to try therapy. And I also decided to start taking medication at the same time, so I started those hand in hand. So yeah, I did go willingly, and I would say that if you're doing it on your own accord, you should wait until you want to go willingly, because if I'd have tried to make myself go when I wasn't quite keen, I probably just would have been wasting my time and the therapist's time because I wouldn't have really opened up. Maybe I would have got into it a bit more. So question 2, did you stay with your first therapist or did you try different ones before settling down? I loved my therapist. Like, the moment I got into the room, I thought she was amazing. I got a really good vibe off of her. I had an awesome connection with her, and so I stayed with her for the whole time. I only went to therapy for about 6 months or so, but if I had the money, I would have stayed with her for much longer because she was amazing. But if I hadn't have got that connection with her, I do want to say that I would have tried a different therapist, just because it's very healthy to have a good relationship and to like your therapist. So Daniel said that he had various therapists over the years. He developed a really strong bond with his first therapist, but then the therapist emigrated to Australia, so he had to obviously get a new therapist and try again. He said that was really quite frustrating, but eventually did settle in with a new therapist. I have been talking to my friend about this, and I would like to start therapy again, but that's kind of my anxiety. I'm worried that I won't find anyone as good as my first counsellor, and that I'm going to feel disappointed because of that, but I guess that's something you've got to go through, really, isn't it? So James said that he went to 3 or 4 therapists before finding one he could relate to and that could help him, and he makes a point of saying that quite a lot in the information that he sent me, that he thinks it's really, really important to find a therapist that you feel comfortable with and like you have a good relationship with, because that's how you're going to get the best results, really. Question number 3, how were the first sessions? Did it become easier or harder over time? So Daniel says it was tough, but he began to focus and adapted to it well. He started CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, which was fantastic. It was a distracting technique which I applied to my routine, and it helped so much. Because I was so willing, and I just, like Daniel, I knew that I needed help. Like, I knew that I was kind of at the bottom and I needed to it could only go up. I threw myself in. I decided beforehand. I was like, I'm gonna go into this all in. So I went in, and because I felt so comfortable with my counsellor, I just kind of blurted everything out, which was like the most amazing like weight off my shoulders that I hadn't felt in like 20 years. It was amazing. So I think I'm quite lucky with that. I think maybe people maybe warm into it a little bit more, but over time it got easier and harder, which is a really unhelpful answer. Some days I really wanted to go to therapy and I was excited, or I knew that I wanted to vent about something, or I was holding a grudge that I wanted to I needed help getting over. And sometimes I was like, I do not want to go to therapy today, like I just want to go home. So those days were harder, obviously, because the hour felt like a lifetime. But all in all, it became easier because I started learning and I started seeing how it was affecting my life outside, really. Question number 4. How did therapy help or not help you? So Daniel says, therapy definitely helped me and still helps me to this day. What I would say that is in receiving therapy is that you work hard and apply the techniques to your daily routine. And James says, therapy has been absolutely amazing to me. It's given me a chance to explore things that I didn't even know existed and started me on a journey of personal development. So I would say I completely agree with that. It really started me on a wonderful journey that I'm definitely still on now, where I'm so much more self-aware. I think I wasn't ever really in touch with my emotions, and I'm still not very good about talking about my emotions unless it's like to these vlogs somehow. But it's because of therapy, I'm a completely different person. I'm really good at looking at situations in a different way, or just like noticing my emotions a lot more. It made me a lot better at communicating in relationships and stuff like that, and that's why I'm so excited to go back, because I know that there's so much more I can learn about myself, and I can kind of better myself as a person, which is like why I'm so keen to go back and carry on. Number 5. Any advice or comments for people maybe wanting to try therapy? Would you recommend it to others? Daniel says, I would absolutely recommend therapy to others. It does help you as long as you're willing to work hard and you want to improve your mental health. It truly is beneficial. It can be daunting at first, but stick with it. Work hard and you'll start to recapture the true you once again, the you who loves life. And James says his advice is to try multiple therapists, because it is a relationship that needs to be one that you feel comfortable in and open in, and do it. Even if you're not depressed, he truly believes that any hurt we feel and don't take responsibility for, that we inflict on others. And he goes on to say that we don't get taught self-care in society, and as adults it becomes our responsibility to learn about ourselves and nurture and care for ourselves and others, which is what therapy did for him. My advice would be, don't feel like you're failing by going to therapy. It's not failing. I always felt like it was failing, or it was like a taboo thing that I should be disappointed at myself in, but it's not that. You're trying to better yourself. Like, there's nothing, you should be just so proud of yourself for trying to become the better version of you and enjoy your life as much as possible. I would say go in with an open mind, especially if you've always been a bit suspicious of therapy. Just go in with an open mind. And also that you don't have to go in and just like delve into your deepest, darkest secrets. You can just talk about your day. Sometimes I spent an hour just chatting about my day, or my housemates that didn't hoover. You don't have to, I think there's a stereotype that you're going to be laying on a chaise lounge, like sobbing and crying about like how you're not good enough. You can talk about anything, and therapists aren't going to push you to talk about anything you don't want to talk about. It might take years before you delve into things that you maybe find it hard to talk about. Yeah, with that in mind, if you are thinking about therapy, you can go to your GP. You can just say, I'm feeling a bit, I'm feeling a bit off and I'd love to try therapy. They'll put you on a waiting list, but it's free that way. You can go through a Mind, the charity Mind. You can sign up to your local Mind and they'll put you on a waiting list. It does cost, but you can get it at a reduced rate if you have a low income, or you can just Google therapists and counsellors in your area. which is what I did to start off. It comes up, there's a database. I went on it recently actually to link it to a friend. It comes up with a database of all the counsellors and therapists in your area. It shows them a picture, it shows what their degrees are in, and then it shows what they specialise in, which is kind of perfect, which I think is a really helpful way, because although you have to pay for it, you kind of get to see, get to choose your own one that you think you might get on with. But you can try all the different ways, all the ways. So that's that. I hope that's given you a little bit of an insight into therapy a bit more, or answered some of your questions, or just made you think, actually, if you've never even thought about therapy, maybe therapy could help me, or counselling could help me. Yeah,